I wanted to go over the computation tools available to you in SBC, Spider Business Center. This tool kind of works like Opus Share does. It uses reference stations in the Iowa real-time network to get you a position on static observed points. When you log into your Spider Business Center account, SBC, your first thing you're going to get to is your shop screen. You want to go to post-processing and computations. What I like to do is name the project some way that will help you remember what it is in case you're doing multiple computations. This pretty much is the name of the 2 points that I collected back in February. We're going to add the rover data. You can add multiple files. I believe there is a limit on file size. You might have to strip out some of the data if it's too large, or maybe just do them one at a time. These are 4-hour static observations, RINEX 3, I believe 1 second sampling rate, and all 4 constellations. They'll go on there just fine. If you have some really long, like 24-hour data and in more than one, you might have trouble getting them all in there. So when you get them entered into when you get the rover data entered into the project, you'll get a report of the point. You'll see the antenna that you used, the start time for both of them. Just confirm that that is correct. This information all comes from the RINEX data, the RINEX file itself. So let's go ahead and zoom into the map. You'll see the blue reference stations are the reference stations that will be used for the computations. If you zoom in even more, you should see your points, and you can confirm that they're in the location that they should be in according to that RINEX file. One thing I want you to keep an eye on is the reference stations. We have 5 reference stations from the RTN being used in the computations. I'm going to also submit the same file in Opus, and you'll see there'll be less files, and they'll also be further away. The baselines will be a lot longer from this point. I'll go over that here in a little bit, but for now, let's go up and select the target system you want the output to come in. For this instance, I'm going to use Iowa North because Opus does not have the LDPs, the low distortion projections. So that's why I'm choosing Iowa North this time. Otherwise, you can pick whatever zone you want to export your file out into. Keep in mind that the Iowa North, Iowa South will only give you ellipsoidal height. The LDPs will give you the ellipsoidal and orthometric height according to GEOID 18. So let's just use Iowa North, and they're going to hit submit. Confirm that you want to submit, and wait for the files to get uploaded into Spider Business Center, and we'll let it do its magic. Once it's all uploaded, it'll automatically take you to your results page. If, for instance, you need to come back to look at this, and you're going to log into your shop, results is just under post-processing and results. In here, you'll find old RINEX data that you downloaded, virtual RINEX data that's available that you created, and then your coordinate computations, which we are working on today. These wheels spinning are letting you know that that file is being processed. These are previous ones I was testing with. As you see, they're still cranking away. It might take a while for that all to get done. I have already created a report for these 2 points. If you click on that line, I give you a quick overview of those points and their positions. To get more details, you can click on full report. There's a lot of information here you can take a look at. What I like to do is just do a print the report out as a PDF, and I just save that with my files. Now, I had already done this, so I'm not going to do it again, but that's a good way to keep records of this process, and we'll go over that report here as well. So I'm going to minimize this, and the report that you get from Spider looks like this. This is 19 pages. Depending on how many points you put into SBC, will be the number of pages you get out. So if you were to do the same thing in Opus, you would go to the NGS home and go to Opus and select your file. You can only do one of these at a time. So I'm just going to select the mark DP4483, and I'm going to select my antenna. Make sure that my antenna height, ARP, is correct. Put my email address in there. And I'm going to choose Iowa North. Most of the time it automatically picks the one you need. I'm right on the edge, so I'm just going to pick Iowa North so we compare everything in the end. I have already shared this point. This is an NGS mark. I do recommend you sharing any static data you can to help out with the NGS on Benchmark campaign. It's a community effort here, so do share that if you can. Keep a lookout for these two fields here. I'm just going to use the defaults and let Opus pick whatever it needs to pick to make this computation. You'll see that there's some points or some reference stations on the CORS network that are closer that I would use. I'm not sure what process Opus used to exclude and include them, but keep that in mind. This is where you can add reference stations if you choose to do so. So let's go ahead and upload static, let that crank away, and then when it gets all said and done, you will receive an email that looks like this. So right now we have the two results from the two different computations. So let's take a look at them. We'll scroll down here on the Spider Business Center. First thing you're going to see are the points that we use. So I had one mark, DP4483, and another mark, NL0188. These are the reference stations that were used in the computations for 4483. As you can see, there are 5, and these are relatively close to that mark. Scrolling down on the Opus email, you'll see that there's only 3 NCN reference stations that were used in this computation. So this is where I was talking about. If you wanted to add a few more, you can. So let's take a look at the NCN map. So here's the NCN map here. You can get that through the NGS homepage as well. And this project is in Carroll. Now, I'm not sure why, but it ended up using Ames, Clarion, and Atlantic as the reference stations for this computation. I don't know why it didn't use Denison or Pocahontas, but if I wanted to add Denison and Pocahontas, I could have just done that on that previous page in Opus Share to include those in the computations. So moving back to the report, we'll scroll down, and NL088 has the same reference stations, but I must have had something wrong with my Rhinex file because I don't know, there should not be 2 different sessions. So it's something I need to investigate here as to why that is. You can see there's about an 7-8 minute gap between those 2 files, and I'll take an investigation on my part to figure out what that is. DP4483 was like a GS18 antenna, which I've used numerous times. The NL088 was done on a BRX7 antenna, which was the first time that I used it for static. So I might have missed the step in the process. So that's something I need to take a look at on my end if I'm not satisfied with the results. So moving down the page, you'll see the information that you provided in your SBC account, and you get to the point results. So let's take a look over here at the Opus email. One thing I like to look at is to make sure that the precise ephemeris is being used as opposed to the broadcast or rapid. Make sure your start and stop times make sense. So that's the day I started on, and it was a little over 4 hours, so that makes sense there. Confirm that your antenna and your ARP height are what they should be. Take a look at your fixed ambiguities. That's a pretty good percentage there, and your overall RMS. Make sure that's appropriate and low. Like this one looks like it's pretty. We've got pretty good results here. Moving down the page, we'll check out the actual point coordinates. I'll give you the reference frame up here, NAD 83, 2011, EPIC 2010, and you have your latitude, longitude, your ellipsoidal height, and orthometric height. Now, maybe you like to look at latitude, longitude. Those results are also provided over here in your Spider Business Center results page. It'd probably be easier to look at the coordinates. So moving down on the Opus email, you will see your state plane north. And this is why I chose state plane north, because Opus won't, as far as I know, Opus doesn't spit out the LDPs yet. So let's take a look at the northing compared to the northing for DP4483. And as you can see, we're roughly about 2 millimeters. Oops, sorry, this one right here. 1 millimeter difference roughly. So that's pretty good. Checking out the easting, pretty similar results. I think that's 6 millimeters, if I remember right. I'm doing the math off the top of my head. So we're pretty tight there. Checking out the, let's just check that real quick. I want to make sure I'm not saying the wrong numbers here. Yeah, about 6 millimeters difference in the easting, so that's pretty good for comparison. We'll check out your ellipsoidal height. If you had used the LDP, you'd have the orthometric height down here as well. So we got here 46, 346, 5119, and at Opus we got 46, 526. So that's what, roughly 7 millimeters difference there. So that's a pretty good check in the height. Now, if I wanted to get the orthometric height, and I'm in state plane north, you can either take the difference between these two and then add the orthometric height in your SBC account, or you can use tools available to you on the NGS page. So we'll just go back to the NGS website, go down to tools, Geoid 18 computations, and this is where you would just add your latitude, longitude that come in. Sorry, put this over here. So latitude, longitude are just the ones that I pulled off the SBC report, and hit computation. So we have a geoid separation of 28.896 meters. So just get a little math. So we're going to have 346.5. You can round if you want to, plus 28.896. So we have, so the orthometric height for our SBC point is 375, 415. Let's see what we had in Opus. Orthometric height. So that's roughly what, 2 centimeters? 2 centimeters as well. It's well under the 4 centimeters as we predict. 7 millimeters, what we're looking at for difference, and the difference between using the Opus or using SBC. So what's the big difference between using this and using SBC? Really, there's not much difference. All depends on your preference. In SBC, you can upload more than 1 point at a time and get a report for more than 1 point. If you choose to use SBC, you need to write your metadata down correctly. So the audio RTN is aligned to the National Space Reference System. The thing you need to note is that your metadata for a SBC computation would be NAD 83, 2011, 2010, EPIC 2010.00, and the 2019 adjustment. Now I use the 2019 adjustment because that is our latest adjustment realization that we have on the network, and you get that information from our homepage under the resources and base station information. And there is your positions or the reference stations that you just used to compute that point in the report. If you were to use the Opus solution, you would need to know that this is NAT 83, 2011, EPIC 2010.00, and you can put whatever, according to the NCN, Opus supplied, either way, so you know how that information was supplied. By just putting it out there as N8383, you might be throwing a little bit of bias in, and this just covers yourself as you can just in your notes so you know how that point was computed if you ever needed to go back and clarify it. Moving further on down the page, you can review the points. This is where you can do some investigating. You can see some of the differences in the quality of the shot between our baselines, and for each point, more baselines between reference station information. It's a lot of detail in here. If I go down and investigate NL 0181, I might find something that was causing the trouble. I believe it could be just a gap in the data starting and stopping or something. Like I said, it was the first time I ever used that antenna. So maybe I'd get some insight down here. Otherwise, I need to just take a look at that Rhinex file and see what's going on. But this is information that's available to you in your SBC account. So if you need to use those computations, go ahead and do so. Just make sure you write down as much information as you can when you publish those coordinates for your project. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call and we'll see what we can sort out. Thank you.